This is Stratman from pipware.com, just going through a typical trading day. We just entered our first trade on that last video based on divergence here. All the rules for THV weren't met at the moment we took the trade on, but it was such a high probability trade based on a bounce off the daily pivot and the big round number forming just here that we decided to take that trade. We don't have a huge amount of space down to the compass, but this is just a very quick scalp we're looking at, and we might make a few pips out of this, we might not, but we're willing to give it a try. And so if we have a look at how the trade is developing, we're currently, I chucked in 300 units into the trade, and we're sitting at 3 pips profit. So we're getting ready to pull the trigger to get out of the trade if she turns back too much. We're hitting a significant point of resistance, support, just in the background here. So we could expect a little bit of a bounce off there, or it might just break through. Let's just wait and see what eventuates. So we just monitor this trade and see how it goes. I'm not really that concerned about what's going on here. I'm taking this as my current support line just above, resistance line just above here, and this is my most recent support and resistance line here. I expected there to be trouble breaking through this point. This is on the M15 chart, so quite happy to just sit here waiting inside this trade and see what happens in terms of price breaking either this way or this way. If it breaks just above here, I'm still happy, because out on my M5 THV we can see that the daily pivot is just basically right here, and my stop is kind of just above that point. And we can see on the 5 minute that the tricks just hit the overbought zone as we kind of entered the trade. So look, this is all telling us just hang about a bit and just be waiting for the trade to kind of develop. Now price has continued on upwards above our line. Not too much of a concern yet. We've still got good divergence showing here, and it's really just heading on up to that daily pivot. So with divergence in our favour, we're still happy with that. The M1, well, it's shown quite a steady kind of climb up. There was divergence shown on M1 for a while, just as we got into the trade. It's starting to climb up away from us on the M1, but again, daily pivot is right here. This is where our stop is above. It's above this point, and this is possibly an opportunity to what we call average in to the situation, because we've got a high probability here that this is going to bounce off the daily pivot. So let's just see a little bit more about what happens here. I'm getting ready with a order to average in, and so to average in I'm probably looking at, let's have a little bit of a look here. We've got, how many pips behind are we? We're 12 pips behind. We're just about up at the daily pivot. What we're going to do is, if we average in, we're going to bring the average sell up to a bit higher. So I'm looking for on the M1 to see the tricks start turning back again, and then I'll be averaging in. So we're still doing pretty well with our money management. We've got only 300 units in this trade, and we're aiming for a stop of around about 20 pips, I think. Close to 20 pips. We've got another 40 pips of 300 if we follow the calculations I did previously. So we could scale in another 300 here and bring the average price to about here, and we're still well within our money management guidelines. The other thing that makes me think about doing this is that the distance down to the low swing here is currently 30 pips, and we're currently 34 pips away from the compass as well. So normally a swing like this without any news is 30 to 60 pips maximum. So as long as my stop is kind of up near the end of there, which is where the daily pivot is, it's still a fairly high probability trade. So let's go back to the M5, starting to see almost at the daily pivot, and I'm looking to just go down to the M1, and I'm looking to see some pulling back on here on the M1, and then I'll be looking at averaging in. So getting my order ready here for 300, and in fact, based on my money management, I'm going to put that in as 400, and I've got a stop loss of only 10 on that. So I'm seeing a bit of slowdown here, so I'm getting ready to do this. So I'm getting ready to pull the trigger now, and I'm seeing the fast trick starting to waver a little bit. So let's just get the last little pulse. We're just about getting into the overbought on the fast tricks there. So we've got slowdown of candles potentially. Okay, let's look at averaging in pretty much now. So we've averaged in. So what that means is that we've got one trade against us at 14 pips, and we've got this one against us at 2 pips. So basically it means that as this one goes into profit, it only needs to go into profit about 6 or 7 pips, or even less than that, for us to be in profit overall. So, and we're using the fact that we're at a very good point of resistance here, a lot of things in our favour. We hit the overbought zone on the tricks here. We've got 33 pips down to the compass, and we've got 46 pips down to our last swing. So I'm pretty happy with how things are going, and I'll just pause again and we'll see what happens. So we've got to consider how many points of resistance that we've had in this trade that the price has got to punch through before we get stopped out. Now we've just broken through this 129 big round number resistance. I'm not too overly concerned about that. We've got the high of the day is at this point here. We've made 50 pips for the day so far, and the next resistance that I can see here is on M1, and I'm just trying to find the what else have we got? We've got another point of resistance up here, H1, which is at 129.20. So here's another significant point of resistance that has to be triggered on the H1 time frame. So, and also we've got the daily pivot here acting as our resistance as well. So the 129.20 is just above here. So realistically, we want our stop just above the third point of resistance. So we've got it here. We need it just above that point that's on this time frame here, which is this one. So 129.20. Take into account the spread. The spread at the moment is 2.2, so we need to add 2.2 onto there. So let's make it around 25 to make it all work. So we just change this, and I'm just going to modify and make sure my protective stops are in the best place they can be. So I want 129.25, and I'm going to do that for both my trades. Oops, wow, that was completely wrong. 129.25.25. That's doing it price. Why am I not getting that? 129.25. I don't know why this is playing up, but let's get there. 25. There we go. Copy that. And we'll do the same for the other order as well. I'll just pause for a sec. So now we can see price has definitely reached its break-even point. We're positive 8 on our 400, and we're minus 5 on the other. So we could cash out of this trade easily small profit, but we're just going to let it run a little bit. We've got the bounce off the daily pivot now, and I'll change over to the next video.